the whole idea of liberty requires boundaries. This is why you have an issue with like secular libertarianism. And this is something I want to get into in the future in some of my future content. Secular libertarianism is moralless liberty. Secular libertarianism is everyone should be able to run off in the cornfield and have strip clubs and smoke weed and have gay pride and do whatever you want.
Right.
Don't do it by yourself. We don't care. The idea is libertine is the word. Libertine is basically anarchy. It's an anarchist society where you run off and you just live in anarchy, but just don't bother your neighbor, basically. Yeah. That is not liberty. That is not the natural real libertarianism, like Christian libertarianism. Like the understand is, and I don't have to say Christian, the deist libertarianism, because most of our founding fathers were at minimum deists. Like they all believed in a God. Now, whether it was Jesus or not, Benjamin Franklin didn't believe
Franklin was a deist,
but he practiced like chastity. He believed in Jesus's morals, the whole 9 yards. So like they understood that liberty is defined by barriers. Like a human being drunk is not at liberty. You are operating outside of the bounds of what a human being is supposed to do. And in doing so, you have actually stepped out of liberty. You're exercising freedom. You are free to go get drunk. You have the freedom to go get drunk. But in terms of what is liberty, if you are, or better, another example, a human in adultery is not at liberty, right? And not only that, you've oppressed somebody else's liberty because you affect your spouse and the kids and the community and the church community. Like you and your actions affect everybody else's liberty. And so the idea of liberty is defined by negative bounds, right? Like don't murder somebody stops me from going out and murdering my neighbor and stealing their liberty.
Yeah.
Like their ability to flourish and live as God, created them to flourish and worship him as he created them to do is protected by the fact that I'm not supposed to murder them. And also that they're supposed to be able to own property and go to church and not be stolen from and not have that taken from them because God gave that to them in order to worship him. And so not stealing protects liberty. It protects their created purpose. Real libertarianism is about living at liberty. It assumes a moral path, whether you pull it from nature, and that's why like our country was founded on a belief in God. We didn't say what God, but we certainly did. Like literally the Declaration mentions nature and nature's God. And the Constitution even starts out with in the year of our Lord. So the rest of the Constitution doesn't say much about anything about God as far as I'm aware, although it is structured in terms of executive, legislative, and judicial, which is basically God making laws, creator, and being judge. But anyway, for another day, point being, libertarianism is not anarchy. Libertarianism is meant to be categorized around the idea of liberty. And so secular libertarianism, the idea of run off, be gay, run off, smoke weed, run off, do whatever, run off and be anarchists, right? That is not libertarianism. And that is why I like Joe Jorgensen, and I don't mean to make this fully political, but just point being, I've seen this even from Christian friends. We're like, where's Joe Jorgensen? Why aren't we all talking about Joe Jorgensen? Honestly, the answer is because from what I saw from her, she believes everyone should be able to run off and have their strip club if they want to. Now, if you want to argue that somebody in freedom should be able to do that, that's one thing. But if you want to be if you want to call yourself a libertarian candidate and you want to run this country and hold the ideals of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, practice of religion, and ownership of property in your heart, what she's saying in that idea of secular libertarianism does not work. It does not compute, and it is not the right road to go.
And part of the reason that I've always said, like, well, I'm not a libertarian is because I had mixed up liberty and freedom, right? Because I thought a libertarian was somebody who's like, limited government so people have freedom to do what they want. I'm like, that's not a society you want to live in. That's not a society you want to live in. That's not a society you want to live in.
Right. But here is why this is so important. It's important because our government was set up, like the doctrine of the document of the Constitution was set up in a way that protects freedom. It does protect a free people to self-govern.
Yeah. That
is the linchpin. It is self-government. It was understood in the 1600s. I mean, like I said, it was without question in the 1600s by most people, especially the founding fathers and most Europeans coming over here, that there was a God and that there was natural law and that we should be in bounds of those natural laws at minimum, and then also consider the existence of divine law. So there was an understanding that we, the people, need to be a moral, godly people. We, the people, need to be a moral, godly people. We, the people, need to be a moral, godly people. The Constitution doesn't demand it, but it was understood, and that's why you have the Declaration of Independence. Nature and nature's God. Like, we are a people that believe in God, natural law, like we believe in these things. So they set up the protection of freedom of self-government. So you have at the basis, the lowest level, you have the right of an individual protected in this country to seek to live at liberty without oppression as they so choose.